Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome to Small World and thank you for joining me with today's video. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make a realistic scenic base with dirt and static grass. These are some of the materials that we're going to be using for this project. I have a couple cups of dirt, some playground sand, a little bit of plaster, some matte Mod Podge, and a cup of water. I start by mixing all of the dry ingredients together first. So I poured them into a cup and started mixing until I realized that the cup was too small. So then I poured everything into a larger container and made sure everything was well mixed. Then I added some matte Mod Podge and a bit of water. I don't have any perfect ratios or anything, I just kind of eyeball it and add water until I get a nice consistency to work with. Something like this where it's still kind of chunky and not runny, but thin enough to be able to spread around. I take a couple spoonfuls of the dirt paste and apply it to my base. In this case, I'm just using a scrap piece of foam. I spread the dirt around until the entire base is covered using a cheap chip brush. Immediately after this step, I sprinkle some leftover dry dirt over the wet dirt paste, which soaks into the paste and helps it dry faster. I learned this technique by Night Shift, by the way. He creates awesome tank models and dioramas, so be sure to check out his channel. I shake off some excess dirt, and here's how it looks once it dries. Now we can start the fun part of adding some static grass. I'm using some Woodland Scenic's medium green and light green static grasses in a variety of lengths, as well as their Static King grass applicator. I start with the 2mm static grass and apply Mod Podge over the surface where I want the grass to stick. I leave a path through the middle of the piece as well as a few random dirt patches here and there to add some variety. Then I shake on my first layer of static grass. I shake off the excess grass, and here's how the 2mm looks. I repeat the same process using some 4mm grass. This time, I apply the Mod Podge highly diluted in a dropper bottle. This allows the Mod Podge to soak into the previous layer of grass, and will help us add multiple layers of grass on top. Again, I simply just shake on the 4mm grass. Then I dump off the excess, and here's how it looks. Now we're starting to build up a bit of height to our grass. Lastly, I repeat the same steps as before using some 7mm grass, and I apply the highly diluted Mod Podge in the same way as last time. I like using Woodland Scenic static grass because it has a matte finish. Most other static grasses are very shiny and look very unnatural in direct sunlight. After dumping off the excess grass, this is what we're left with, and here's how it looks after drying. It looks pretty good, but I want to add some variation within the grass, and I want the dirt to be a lighter color. I'm using Tamiya acrylics in buff and flat earth that are highly diluted for this next step. I start by adding some flat earth to my airbrush, and I apply some dead patches to the grass. Check out this before and after. The left side is the painted side, and the right side is just the plain static grass color. I learned this technique from Diorama, so be sure to go and check out his channel. This is definitely one of my favorite techniques because you have total control over exactly how you want your grass to look. You can paint it with any color you want. In this way, you don't have to buy every single shade of static grass available. You can simply just buy one or two colors and then paint them how you see fit. It's also just super fun to paint grass with an airbrush. And here's how the grass looks after painting. Now I add some Tamiya buff into the airbrush and I start applying it to all the dirt surfaces. I'm going for a more dry, dusty dirt look for this piece, but again, you can use any color that you see fit for your project. And here's the final result. I hope that you learned something and that you found this video useful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Also, a big thank you to my patrons. Thank you so much for all of your support. If you'd like to join them and support me on Patreon, I offer tons of exclusive content such as process pictures between videos, early access videos, and much more. Well anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Also, here are some bloopers. Most other static grasses are very shiny and look very unnatural until like direct sunlight. This allows the Mod Podge to soak into the previous layer of grass and will help